All right, speaking of a team that could win, they did win this week. Before we get to that, folks, I got to talk to you about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel's giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props. Don't miss out. Head to fanduel.com/UCSS. That's fanduel.com/UCSS and claim your $250 in bonus bets today with FanDuel. All right. Nice homestand. We talked about what the atmosphere was like. We got into attendance a little bit. But let's talk about on the field itself and what happened with the Guardians this week. They win 5 of 6. Talk about every time they play the White Sox, you want to sweep. I know they're not going to get swept every series. But after the White Sox got off to a nice little start there, those few couple of games, they've been terrible. By the way, kudos, on a White Sox team that's terrible. This Rule 5 pick, Shane Smith, he's pitched really well for them. He pitched well yesterday. I can't remember who they played, but
the Red Sox, they just took 2 or 3 from Boston.
Yeah. But they're not playing, as bad as we would have thought heading into the season. They're 4-11. That's not bad for them. Not too terrible. And they're actually 4-5 at home, but they can't win on the road. Anyway, the season has started overall the American League versus the National League like we expected. In the National League, there's already 5 teams with double-digit wins. In the American League, there's none. You have 9 teams of the 15 with either 8 or 9 wins, including the Guardians. None with 10 yet. We thought all the divisions would be close in the American League. Again, we got a long way to go, but I think they will all be close. And, everybody was panicking about the Guardians a week ago, and now 6 days later, again, we know the White Sox are bad, and, we think the Royals are going to be good. But really good homestand. They played much better baseball this week.
Do we agree that the Twins stink?
To
me, it feels like they're teetering on the brink, and like Rocco Baldelli could be the first manager fired.
He certainly could be. They're obviously playing terrible baseball. I think what's happened is, for so many years, we've been saying, if the Twins could stay healthy, and at this point, you just know they're not going to. And some of those guys you've been waiting to stay healthy are either now getting old. When you've had so many injuries, it gets to a point. Look at Chris Bryant of the Rockies. Like, the guy looked like he was going to be a Hall of Famer his first few years with the Cubs. He goes to Colorado. It's been a disaster. He's hurt all the time. And now this year he's healthy to start the season, but he's been hurt for so many years, and he's older now, and he's just not good. And I think we've seen that with some of the Twins guys. They've gotten old. And I don't know. It's a young man's game. More and more, I know some guys are still finding ways to cheat, but for the most part, we're past the steroids, and we're back to where, like, most guys are getting old in their mid-30s and going off the cliff. So it's not good to be an old, banged-up team, and I think that's kind of what the Twins are outside of their rotation.
They have a team OPS of 613.
Ooh.
So, so I say that because, to me, if you're the Guardians, I think a big key to this season is just playing well against the Royals and Tigers. And I know that's not, I didn't just split the atom here, but
right.
I think it's if I'm looking to draw any conclusions from the first 10% of the season, it's 4-2 against the Royals is pretty good, especially since they faced Cole Reagans twice in those 6 games. Like, that's not fun. That's, if I'm like, I can't take too much away from sweeping the White Sox, especially since 2 of those games, it's like they escaped with a victory.
Yes.
That West Coast swing was weird, and they didn't pitch well, and they played really sloppy. I thought they played really nice, clean baseball over the weekend. So that's a good sign, getting back to like kind of who they are. And they ran the bases well. Like, it felt like the 2022, 2024 Guardians out there. So if I'm like, the first thing I can take away where I feel like I learned something, or maybe something that's encouraging, is they've won 2 series against the Royals, and you're going to be fighting with the Royals and the Tigers, I think, till the end, just like you were last year. So that's a good sign. And you took care of business. Like, it's what's the cliche? Like, you can't win a division early, but you can lose it. And
Yes.
I feel like, again, like over the last 10, 15 years, this team has gotten off to slow starts and turned it on in the second half. But you don't want to be stuck saying, well, we're a second half team, or well, when the bats warm up, or anything.
Mhm.
Like, think about the advantages. Just, again, last year, they were like 16-6, and then they were, they just kept winning and winning and winning. And obviously that's the goal. It's easier said than done. But just when you can get off to a good start when maybe not playing your best, when guys are still figuring things out, when you're trying to figure out who deserves playing time and who should get a call up and who should be pitching in high leverage, and you're just trying to learn about all your players and how to put them in the best positions to succeed. And if you can win while still sorting through all that, that's so advantageous for later on. So this was a big week for them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You talk about the fundamentals, the base running, the taking the extra base, the defense. These are things that have been, we talked about this last week because they got off to such a bad start, in those categories. And we're so not used to that. I mean, this team is usually one of the best in the league at running the bases, one of the best in the league at stealing bases, one of the best in the league in playing defense. And we hadn't seen that the first week of the season. And as you said, this last week, they got back to doing that with the home cooking, and that was good to see. It was also good to see them pitch well. And I get what you're saying, you can't look too much into how you pitched against the White Sox, but if they had pitched crappy against the White Sox, we would have been like, oh God, they pitched crappy against the White Sox. So overall pitching very good this week. They gave up, I think, 10 runs in the 6-game homestand. So that was a real positive. And now I want to talk about a couple of guys specifically, and let's start with Gabriel Arias, because I think you and I both felt that, like, this is it. This is the final time for Gabriel Arias. And I had mentioned it, I think in our first show, I was like, give him 6 weeks, let him play pretty much every day. Let's see if he can do it. Let's see if he can establish himself. And, the first week of the season, he didn't get off to a particularly great start, but obviously he's had a great second week here. And as we, start play tomorrow, as they get back into action, Arias in 14 games is 12 for 45. He's hitting .267 with an .822 OPS. He has 3 homers, 7 RBIs, still 15 strikeouts, which is pretty high. But overall, you look at the numbers a couple of weeks into the season, he's doing pretty well. How are you feeling about him? Is this like a 1-week anomaly, or you feel like he's finally starting to find himself as a one-time big prospect?
So I think at this point in the season, baseball can be really misleading. I wrote about this today on The Athletic. You're examining these stats that change so much day to day, right?
Oh, yeah.
You go 0 for 4, it just kills you.
Yeah.
You go 4 for 4, and you're set for the week. And so I try to pay a little more attention to certain metrics at this point in the year and just see if they match up with the stats. And that's how I feel like Nolan Jones, for example, if you looked at his metrics under the hood, and you'd see this dude is just crushing the ball. And then you look at his stats and you're like, wait, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
And to me, that gives me a little bit of hope that, like, this guy's had some bad luck, and if he keeps doing what he's doing, he'll eventually get rewarded for it. Arias is weird. The surface level stats are obviously great. He did have a pretty bad slump before this weekend. So, if we would have talked about him 3 days ago, we're probably clamoring for Juan Brito.
Yeah.
If you look under the hood, there are some good things there. Like, he's hitting the ball hard regularly, which is no surprise. The guy's got a ton of power. We've seen all 3 of his home runs have gone to the opposite field. Mm-hmm. There've been no doubters. The one thing that makes me question if this is sustainable, and it's the thing that's been the question forever with him, and he's not the only one with this issue, he has the worst swing and miss rate in baseball. So my question is, because this guy has just obliterated fastballs this season. He's slugging .741 against fastballs. His whiff rate against breaking balls is like 60%. It's sky high. So the question is, like, pitchers are just going to stop giving you fastballs.
That's right.
Yeah. So the question is, can you be patient? Can you show plate discipline? Or can you make enough contact so that if they throw you a slider, you can foul it off and just keep fouling off pitches until they have to give you a fastball? That's the question I had. that doesn't mean like he can have stretches like this where he's just seeing the ball well. He's coming up with guys on base, so he sees more fastballs because the pitcher can't afford to walk him. His walk rate has doubled from last year, which is a good sign. It's just he's going to have to swing and miss less, or this isn't going to be sustainable. And maybe as a hot week and a cold week and a hot week and a cold week, and like that might be better than some alternatives here. But I do still have skepticism of just how sustainable this is.
Okay, I feel exactly the same way, and I didn't have those numbers, so that kind of lines up. And I have not been a believer in Arias. I still obviously want to give him another month probably to see what's what. That's the young players have to make adjustments along the way. There's no doubt about it. Those numbers are eye-poppingly good and bad. The problem is all the pitchers, all the teams have access to that information. It's not a secret that you and I are talking about and that the other teams don't know about. And eventually, if he cannot adjust, whether it's, as you said, make some contact or lay off those bad pitches, if he can't adjust significantly, well, then the bad streaks are going to be horrible, where you can't even watch him play. And if you can only hit a fastball in the big leagues, you can't survive as a good player. I mean, that's it. That's all these guys that we call 4A players who like constantly come up and can't stay in the big league. That's because they can't hit anything but a fastball. If that's all you can hit, you can't survive in the big leagues.
The thing he's done is he certainly bought himself time. And
yes,
I've been a skeptic. I'm way more intrigued by him. We haven't seen a stretch like this really.
No,
from him. Maybe flashes a couple years ago, but so he's bought himself time, and not just like I think the one thing that hurts him is the guy who would take over for him next, probably Juan Brito, who like his big calling card is the guy draws like 80 plus walks a season at AAA. So he's got that plate discipline and more of a contact ability, and he hits for power now too. I'm really intrigued and curious to see what Brito can do against major league pitching. That'll come eventually. The one thing though is, if Brian Rocchio doesn't hit, you can slide Arias to shortstop. That's and true. You can play Angel Martinez or Brito or whoever else at second base.
Brito's got a 944 OPS at Columbus so far this season. 2 homers, 9 ribbies, 4 stolen bases, 6 walks, and 9 strikeouts in 65 trips to the plate. That's obviously very good. Those numbers are excellent so far. That's good. You're right, because Rocchio, who I think we all expected to kind of have a breakout season, has been off to a terrible start. Angel Martinez has come up. He's done a nice job, 5 for 10 so far since joining the big league club. Lane Thomas obviously hasn't played. What's going on there? I'm surprised they haven't put him on the IL yet. I mean, like, if he doesn't play by tomorrow, I don't know what are they? I guess they thought it wasn't as bad.
He should be good. He should be good tomorrow.
Oh, you think he's going to go? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right, fair enough. Just because it's a 10-day IL, so he's already missed 5? He missed the whole homestand, didn't he? Or even played the first game?
Yeah, he missed the last 5 games.
Yeah.
So I think he would just have to miss the Baltimore series.
Right. Yeah, well, that's right. Had they put him on the IL initially, but all right, you expect him to be back. So what happens with Angel Martinez? Is that it for him?
I mean, he did this last year too. Remember, he came up and had a couple good games, and all of a sudden he was hitting second.
Yeah.
I think there's a role for him. Jose is going to DH once a week. You can sit Arias once a week. You can sit Rocchio once a week. You can sit Lane Thomas once a week.
Santana.
Yeah, there's definitely a way for Martinez to play 5 times a week. And I think, I don't know about you, I'm more intrigued by him than I am Schneemann.
No, 100%.
So
100%.
Yeah, I don't see why Martinez couldn't stay.
Yeah.
Once Thomas comes back, because the excuse of, well, we want him playing every day, so we're going to send him to AAA, but he could play plenty.
Yeah.
If you keep him on the major league roster. So.
And right now, you don't have to set anybody down because Lane Thomas obviously isn't on the injured list.
Yeah, I'm just saying in terms of Martinez didn't make the roster and Jonathan Rodriguez did out of spring training because they wanted Martinez playing every day.
Right.
So if Thomas comes back, that doesn't have to mean the end to Martinez's playing time, and then you would make that swap.
Right. I'm especially
again.
again. I know it's not a lot of at bats, but he's hot right now. I don't want to just when you got a lot of guys not hitting, I don't want to just relegate him to the bench or AAA.
I think he's been good defensively too.
Yeah,
He's
he's done a
switch
great job.
hitter. Like he's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not on this team. I'm not relegating anyone to the bench who's hot. They can't afford that in this lineup.